Stunning. So I can get a bit more shallow depths in the back. Yeah, that's it. One last one. Can you look past me like that way? Yeah. Nice. Chin up. Yeah. My friend photographer Bellevue was already photographing Chris with this setup, and when I saw it, I liked it and I decided to try it out. The only difference between our shoots is that I chose to shoot completely with natural light whilst he shot with strobes. Now, oftentimes people struggle with natural light images. They say it's tough to control, it lacks dimension, and it's often flat and boring or just overbearingly dramatic, right? And that can be true, like I completely agree, but that's when your skill set or experience through your own trial and errors come to play and set you apart from other photographers. What I mean is, when shooting with natural light, I feel it makes you more intentional, right? You're either intentional with the time of day you shoot, the direction you shoot, how much of the natural elements you use to your advantage, and so on. But the point is, you have to work with what you're given and you have to make what you're given work. Chris is already a fantastic model to work with. I loved how she styled herself in the black jacket and those long black boots, and how it contrasted beautifully with the brown textures of the garage. Yes, we're shooting in front of my garage. First thing I noticed was the sun was setting, and so it was a little low in the sky and it was really golden. So in my mind, I knew in post-processing I'd love to add some crazy amount of warmth to the images, like crazy. I'll do a demo for you guys to see later on in the video, so stick around. And once you're choosing to do that, please subscribe if you haven't. It will mean a lot to me. Also leave a like if you're getting some value from this video. Stand like that. Good. Perfect. Yeah, chin up still. Yeah, perfect. Cross, can you cross it all the way? No, the other way. Yeah, I love this. Stunning. Just, perfect. What I noticed is I realized that the sun was low in the sky, like I said in the beginning. We were getting some slightly harsh and bright light from the back, which was serving as a rim light. I was so excited with the way it cut across her face and especially her jacket, depending on the angle that I was shooting from. One advantage again is the fact that we're using the sky as our light source, remember? And so we also had this large fill light, because you know how vast the sky is, right? So we have this large fill light that is filling up the shadows and giving us like really nice light on her face. My camera settings for these stayed consistent throughout. I was at ISO 250 f1.4 and 1/250 on the shutter speed. And I also completely shot everything with my 51.4 and my Canon EOS R5. Now that we've seen how I was able to put all of these together, let me jump onto my screen and show you like the post-processing that I want to apply to the images in Capture One, especially in terms of the color and tone that I want. Let's jump onto my screen and then show you what I'm doing right now. The way it was, and then it was the leather one. Alright, so now we're on my screen and I just want to quickly go through some of the images for you guys to see. These are all absolutely beautiful and they can all work together to create like an editorial story or piece if that is what you intend on doing. Right? So let me just start off with, let's say this image. Let's actually work with this image, all right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch over to my quick tab, and this is where I have like my most frequent tabs all arranged into one area, so I have easy access to them, right? So the first thing I will do is go into my white balance, and I'm going to warm this up a lot. So let's just go all the way to, let's say 7,350. Anywhere around here should be good. And I'm also just going to add a bit more green to the image. So all of this is just going to play with, you know, the color in the frame and then just add a bit more interest to it. All right, so afterwards I'm just going to go now into my exposure, and what I'll just play around with is actually, I think this was in the presets whilst I was photographing, right? So you see, if I bring it down, we're adding more contrast to it. I'll just keep it that way and just add a bit of contrast in there. And I'm also just going to reduce the saturation to begin with, and then we'll pull in the colors that we want to be present in the image, right? Let me go next into dehaze actually, and then just add a tiny bit of that. So that's also going to add a bit more contrast to the image, right? Moving on, I'm going to now play with some of the colors present in the image. So I'm going to start off inside my color editor, and I'm going to start with the reds. What I want to do is just darken down the lightness of the reds. So somewhere around here, I think looks good. Then I'm also just going to reduce the saturation of that just a tiny bit. And I'm just going to shift them more towards a warm side, so something like that. Again, play with the numbers yourself till you find what works. I am just eyeballing and looking at what works for me. All right, moving on, I'm going to go into the orange, and I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to move the yellows more towards a red area so that the colors look more uniform, and I'm actually going to reduce the saturation. So similar things that I did to the red side, I will try to do in the orange as well. I'm also going to darken that down quite a bit, so something like this I think should look good. And we're going to go into yellows and maybe just play with that a tiny bit as well. So again, we're going to move yellows more towards red, and we're going to desaturate that. And you can see I'm just making tiny adjustments and everything is coming together quite well. I'm also going to darken down the yellows as well. So something like this I think looks good. I'll now move on into blues, because I noticed whilst I was shooting that her jacket was reflecting the blue skies a little bit, and so I just want to remove those blues that are present in the image, right? So I'm just going to move that so that we can retain like the rich dark tone of the jacket. So I'm just going to move the saturation of the blues down, let's say somewhere like that, and I'm going to really darken it, like darken it quite more than I darkened the yellows and the reds and then the oranges. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to go into levels. Actually, let me just go into magenta and maybe just darken down magenta just in case there's a bit of magenta in there, and also just desaturate it a little bit. All right, now that we are done with that, inside levels in the RGB panel, what I'm going to do is just bring this in just a tiny bit, and I'm also going to bring in the highlights a bit, and this is just going to increase, you know, the contrast in the image quite a bit as well. I'll go into curves, and I'll also just drop down the highlights just a little bit, just like so. And now we're going to play with some of the colors in the image. So I'm going to go into color balance. I'll start with the highlights. Again, I want to warm this image up, right? So we need to infuse some warmth into the highlights. So somewhere around here, I think actually does amazing for the image. I'll now go into the midtones and maybe just add a tiny bit. So just like we did with the white balance, we can play with it something like that. Again, all these things are not set in stone. You'll be the one to, you know, play with your images and find out what really works for you. Let me move it a little bit more towards the warm side. Initially, it was looking too green for my liking. All right, I'll go now into shadows, and I will want to darken it, like just put in some blues again, somewhere like that. I think this works quite well. I'll go back into my curves. Yeah, right here. I feel like I just want to darken down the shadows just a tiny bit more. So something like that. You can see the difference. So this is without it, and this is me adding just a tiny bit of that. Okay, now the last thing I will do is go into sharpening and reduce the sharpening, because Capture One naturally likes to add a ton of sharpening to my images. I don't want that, and I would rather go into I don't think I have that visible here, so I will right click, go to add tool. What I want to add is some noise, so I need to find where film grain is, right there, and I'm going to add silver rich, and I think I just want to, you know, just increase that to about 50, or let's say 45%. That just adds a tiny bit of grain to the image. And you can see that if I, you know, just reset that, this is where we started from, and this is where we are, right? So if I love this adjustment and I want to apply it onto the rest of the images, I can just click on copy and select all of them and paste, but I want to do this one after the other so that you guys can see how it affects the images, and then we can fine tune it from there. So I spent all the time fine tuning this particular image, and now I just want to apply it on the rest. So let's say I'm starting with this image, just click on apply. You can see that it's dramatically changed the way the image feels. It's added a bit more depth to it, and the color tone is really nice. For this, I feel like you just may want to warm it up a tiny bit more. So again, you're just making these adjustments and then you're pasting on the others, but then you just still need to add a bit more adjustments so it fits that particular image. So I'm gonna copy that, go on to the next image, press paste. I love the vibe that we have right now. You can see in the beginning it was looking just too cool, just too blue, but then just playing with the warmth and the depth in the image just makes it a lot more interesting. And I feel like if you're looking at an image like this, you will be drawn to look at, oh, this is beautiful. I really love that. But again, we shot a little bit too wide, so I may just crop this down a bit and bring this down as well, maybe somewhere like that. And maybe just lift up the bottom a tiny bit more and bring this in from here. Maybe just bring this back out, hit enter. And I think I love this frame a lot more than what we had initially, but I love the color grading. I can press on apply and it's applied that to it. Again, I'm just gonna crop this down a little bit and move this up a tiny bit as well, just to make it more intimate. I love this crop. So again, if I want to now post-process this inside Photoshop by like removing this tiny spot over here, fixing the line around there, just moving a few spots on the face, I think that pretty much does it and we're good to go. So let me know how you guys feel about the images that we captured. Let me know if you enjoy it. If you want to see more breakdown like these, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Also check out my digital store. I have amazing products that will help you retouch a lot better, faster, and help you create consistent results every single time. I also have some free raw files if you want to play with them, and I have some free LUTs and presets. You can check them out, and if you find them to be interesting, you will love the paid ones because those ones come with more options. All right, that's it for me for today, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Remember, don't ever give up.